So where are we, you may ask? We've got your circa 1700 brownstones, we got your gaslit front stoops over there. No, not the Upper East Side, not Gramercy Park, not the quaint parts of the West Village. No, no, no. Georgetown, Washington, D.C. And what, you may ask, am I doing here? Would better be a good story to lure me down here. I didn't come here to see the president. No, I didn't vote for that guy. But I came here for food like I always travel. This is an amazing story. We're going to visit Michel Richard, the chef owner of Citronelle, one of my favorite restaurants in America, completely world class. This is one of the best kitchens in the country. Meet him, see the food, you know, the usual stuff we do. Have some fun, and then break bread and eat with the chef. Welcome to Georgetown. In wandering around the streets of Georgetown, I gotta tell you, I fell in love with the housing stock. Block after block, acre after acre of some of the best preserved examples of historic federal and colonial brownstones I've seen anywhere. I mean, New York doesn't have any neighborhood this big, this deep, this old, and this authentic. Neither does Philadelphia. Maybe Beacon Hill in Boston or Nob Hill in San Francisco, but this place is absolutely gorgeous. So there's a bunch of reasons to come to D.C. Museums, music, visit the monuments. You know me, I come to eat. And if you're going to come to eat, you gotta visit Citronelle. It's really great. I'd heard great things about Michel Richard's restaurant in D.C., but I really didn't know what to expect, and I have to tell you, I was floored. If this restaurant was in Manhattan, I think you're pretty well rest assured this is another 4-star restaurant, one of the very, very few. The food is extraordinary. All right, I gotta start somewhere. All right.
Somewhere. A Citronelle.
He sings. So here we are. For the people in New York that might not know who I'm sitting next to, this is one of the greatest chefs in America today, Michel Richard of Citronelle in D.C. It's hard to get me out of New York to do a restaurant, but I came down because this is way worth the trip.
Of course they know me in New York. I was on the front page of Gourmet magazine a few weeks ago.
We'll get that.
And they saw me on TV with Martha. Martha just came out from jail.
Last night.
She called me this morning. Michel, I want you back too. She was missing me.
She's out for 2 days. She wants to be at the cochon. In spite of Michel Richard denying this, and I don't know why he does, he's the only guy I know that's come from pastry, from that side of the kitchen, to the hot side and became a restaurant chef. It's not that these are two entirely separate skills, it's just that it really never happened before. And I really think this has allowed Michel to think unencumbered, to come to this genre without any preconceptions about what works and what doesn't work. It's extremely liberating, and his food shows it. He makes some of the most inventive, creative food I've seen in the last 50 years anywhere.
Day and night, I think about food. How can I come up with new dishes? I love texture of my food. But look what we do. We bake that very slowly on plastic film. These look like a black chanterelle. They're gorgeous. This is nice, huh? Do you have that in New York?
Not yet. Not yet, but when I get back, I'll tell everybody.
Pastry is nice, but it's kind of a... We have, what, eggs, sugar, and chocolate, and after that, what, banana, apple?
Yeah, flour.
No much excitement.
Yeah.
It was fine, but it was time for a change. And I fell in love with a great kitchen in France. Beautiful, clean. And I started to cook. I learned to cook by myself with a cookbook. I read a lot of cookbooks, and I was trying all the recipe. And I used to invite a lot of my friends for dinner. And after 10 years or 15 years, they told me that I was a good chef, that my food was good. And that's why I asked them to give me some money. And I was able to
put them together.
To open my restaurant, Citrus. And it was very successful.
Give me my 2 salmon.
Your cooking, get back to your cooking. It's neat for me because, again, you're coming out of the pastry side. You've got this great visual sense, great plate design sense. And then maybe, too, it occurs to me, because you didn't spend 10 or 12 years as an apprentice on the hot side, so you come to this with a palate that's clean. I mean, you could really create anything you want without the encumbrance of a lot of previous knowledge. So talk to me about what goes into you approaching a dish. Pick a dish, any dish you want on the menu. What goes into your process putting that dish together?
For many, many, many years, as a chef like me, we try to be different. We try to create some new soups in a restaurant. While creating new soup, you have the most famous soup in the world, onion soup. The way we serve it now is different. We do a wonderful onion soup. We don't use stocks. We use miso. There's no stock.
So no chicken stock, miso.
Miso only.
No Calvados, no brandy. Okay.
You like it?
No, but yours is clean. I wanted you to tell me. So onions, miso.
That's it. A bit of garlic. Nice. Soy sauce.
And then instead of doing the crouton with the cheese on the top under the salamander,
we serve a souffle, little cheese souffle with Gruyere only. No, we use the Parmesan cheese.
really? Is there Parmesan?
Yeah. Did you have it last time?
Yeah, what do I know? Let's talk about potatoes. I mean, what is it with this guy and potatoes? He does more crazy stuff, more brilliant stuff, more stuff than I've ever heard of with potatoes. From cutting 10-yard strips of paper-thin potato to make baskets, to the mashed potatoes that he freezes in a tube, cuts paper-thin, and turns into these wonderful little wafers. I mean, where's this guy get these ideas?
We have this rockfish that you call it striped bass in New York.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know why you call it rockfish. It's striped bass.
Striped bass.
Yeah,
No, it's
beautiful fish.
what you call it striped bass is rockfish. New York.
DC.
New York. Anyway, we take a fillet of striped bass and we cover with a black olive crust. And we serve that with a sauce made with green olive sauce. Do you have that in New York? Maybe in a few months when you're going to copy moi.
When your book comes out, everybody will do it.
No.
So we take Cocoa Puffs, we put them in cocoa butter and glaze it in that, hit it with a little bit of almond flour.
What's the base of that cocoa thing? What's
It's
the
actually
thing?
the cereal.
Then pureed or something?
No, we take the seed, the cereal, put it in a big bowl. We take cocoa butter that we melt, we toss it in the cocoa butter. We take some chocolate, and the chocolate adheres to that. Then we take cocoa powder.
And sprinkle it over.
Exactly, so then it becomes all frosted and dusted like that. And we serve that. We have this chocolate flakes dessert, so it's 3 types of chocolate flakes, and this is the minted milk that goes for it. And the way we make that is we take some milk, heat it up, take some mint that we've plucked and washed, infuse it, a little bit of sugar, and that's the dish. Then at the table side, we have a little urn of this, and the waiter pours in the minted milk, so it's kind of like a cereal reinvented as a dessert.
You gonna do the line?
Yes.
I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Pops. You gotta do that.
Okay, absolutely.
Let me hear you. 1, 2, 3. I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Pops.
I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Oh my God.
You like to draw. You have a real artistic side to you. Talk about drawing and creating the visual process.
For me, when I create a recipe, I like to draw it. It's funny because I can feel the texture. I put my imagination on paper, and I can draw. I like that. And this way, I can taste the food without tasting it. Because, I did taste my food already. I should stop. I do design the food. I add some crispy here. I can add through my drawing, I'm able to add a little sauce. If I don't like the sauce, I remove the sauce and put different sauce.
I love it. How do you keep your sauces for service? In little thermoses, right?
We keep all the sauces in, like I say, in a thermos. You have no skin. It's easier to pour.
Good temperature?
Good temperature.
Yeah, right. It's not throwing a skin on the top.
And it doesn't reduce. Bain-Marie.
Right. Bain-Marie cooks it a little bit.
Yeah. There's a company now who's creating a new thermos for me. We're gonna have a little bit small whisker whip inside.
That's brilliant.
It's gonna be wonderful.
That's brilliant. This goes with the pigeon. Oh, that's great. Now, where'd you tell me about that dish. What's the inspiration? I didn't even see it on the menu. When you say pigeon Moroccan style, I think of pastilla. But that's not what you're talking about.
No, you don't have pastilla, but more or less. But I love pastilla. And we use the breast of the squab. We wrap with kataifi.
So tell me, chef, what are we making here? Is this the pigeon?
This is the squab, yes.
Squab.
So basically covered in katafi, We just submerge it in 325 clarified butter.
So wait a second, that's a fryolator, and instead of having fat in it, it's clarified butter.
Yes, that's what it is, clarified butter.
It's got to taste pretty good, huh? I like that. I always like my squab fried in katafi and clarified. Yeah.
I'm the one who brought that in this country to Katafi. You don't know that. Huh? They used to serve that with dessert only. And,
It's like Greek.
In the Greek. I used
they
to work in
soak
Greece.
it
We deep fry it. We add a little bit of sugar, a little bit of cinnamon.
So it's like a pastilla, in
Yeah,
a way.
but,
Because it has the pastry, the savory, the cinnamon, the sugar.
It looks good. It's a very elegant, crisp.
I have to taste that tonight. That looks
can.
fantastic.
Okay, we will taste it.
Oh,
Do you have a chef table tonight?
you and I are at the chef's table tonight.
Ooh. When you're working in a restaurant, you leave the restaurant 9 o'clock, you find have a few drinks.
This is beautiful, huh, Kirk?
Petite salade niçoise.
Yeah, and now the traditional salad niçoise would be mixed greens, maybe frisée, mesclun, a bit of an egg, a hard-boiled egg, maybe some potato, haricot vert,
But you have it.
olives, and
Olive,
tuna.
haricot vert, anchovy,
Yeah,
mozzarella,
here it
tomato,
is. Here it is.
slice of potato, tuna, fresh tuna. And here we have green beans. It's wonderful.
Just like one of the little shacks in Nice.
Just like a little, a shack in Nice.
Yeah. It's great. It's great, Michel. Really great. Really clean, really nice. Now this thing that looks like an egg. Mozzarella cheese and a puree of yellow tomato. I think because he was a pastry chef as well, his sense for visual design, his sense for beauty and aesthetics on the plate is outstanding. Every plate that he has, every plate that I've eaten, every plate that we saw that night was really beautiful. Simple, but a beautiful aesthetic. This guy's a very visual chef, but he never sacrifices flavors. The food tastes as good as it looks, and that's rare. What we have here is the simplest thing, the most humble thing, the foot of the pig, the trotter, the pied, turned into one of the most wonderful things with a little help from some friends. Chef?
I love it.
So what we're looking at here is pretty gorgeous boneless loin of lamb here.
Colorado lamb.
Colorado lamb, we may add.
For me, it's the best lamb in the country.
Best lamb in the country, some of the best lamb in the world.
Yeah, the famous French fries. Oh, I love that.
I'm struggling. I'm having trouble with this meal. To 20 more years of Citronelle.
Oh,
20 more birthdays for you here,
yeah.
and continued success.
Thank you. Please come up and see me. I'm here to cook for all of you. If you have a chance to spend some time in DC, this is the place.
What a surprise it was. You know, I'd heard about Michel Richard for years, knew this guy was a huge talent, you know, knew the Jean-Louis Paladin connection to DC, but I don't go down to DC much. Why would I? So I went down there and had incredible meals. I mean, 2 nights in a row, I had some of the best food I've had anywhere in the last 3 or 4 years. The guy is outstanding. The restaurant's amazing. And I love his story. I just think that, even though he denies it consistently, that this idea of a pastry chef morphing into hot side is so unusual. It really, really is virtually unprecedented. And because of this, he has this way of looking at ingredients. He's like unencumbered by, you know, all the baggage that we have as cooks who came up as apprentices and worked for this guy and that guy. You know, he looks at a potato and he sees, I don't even know what he sees. You know, he makes that mash thing that he puts in tubes, freezes, slices. I mean, this guy does more stuff with potatoes than anybody I've ever seen, and that's just a potato. The salmon with the almond crust, the lamb rolled in herbs. I mean, I think he's first of all, he's brilliant taste-wise. He's absolutely brilliant visually. But I think the thing that's most exceptional is because he didn't come up as a chef. He can just think out of the box. You know, he's unburdened by a traditional technique. So, you know, if it hasn't been done before, nobody told him, he'll just do it and he'll figure out a way. And this is a great recipe. This one I'm going to make today is an illustration of that. It's a recipe that I didn't eat while I was there. It wasn't on his menus because it was from probably 3 or 4 years ago. But I remember reading about this recipe. It's a fried chicken recipe. And I love fried chicken. And I have over the years, I've sort of perfected my best version, which is just really buttermilk, season the chicken, then soak them in buttermilk, then good seasoned flour, then I fry them. Simple, you know. And it's great. Crispy crust, great flavor. I love it, whatever. But he had this thing with like potatoes. It went in the freezer. You did this. And I was like, what did he do? Why is all this in? And I really wanted to try it. So I talked to Michel when we were down there, and he gave me some tips on how he does it and some shortcuts. Then they faxed me the recipe from one of his books. It's not in print anymore. It's his cookbook from, I guess, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And I read it, and I just thought, huh? I don't get it. I mean, I don't usually cook with recipes. You know, I cook out of my head, or I see something and I can imitate it. But his stuff's so weird. I mean, I needed the recipe because it made no sense to me. And as I was making it, I was a nervous wreck. I mean, I can't remember the last time, A, that I used a recipe, and that B, 3/4 of the way through it, I was convinced, utterly convinced, it wasn't going to work. I mean, I just remember saying to them, like, this ain't going to work. We better have a plan B for dinner because this ain't going to work. I don't know how this is possibly going to come out. And it worked, and it floored me because all along the way, really until halfway through the cooking in the pan, I was convinced it wasn't going to work. So what he does is chicken and potatoes, marries these 2 great flavors, and we're going to butcher this chicken down. We're going to use the breasts and the thighs, skinless and boneless, and cut into pieces, seasoned and marinated a little bit to get some flavor in them. Then we're going to get these potatoes. In his original recipe, he cuts them very small by hand on a mandolin, little tiny brunoise. But since then, he says he has a shortcut where he just kind of chops them up. Again, I don't know where he gets this stuff. Throws it into Cuisinart with water, smashes them up to the kind of small and flaky, then strains the water out, rinses them a bit, smashes the water through, gets those shredded potatoes, adds a little egg white, little flour, and that's the recipe. So we're going to start with the chicken. This is the easy part. All right, this is the usual butchering 101. I don't need the skin, so I don't have to be too careful about where I'm cutting. All right, it's easy to skin the chicken breast. We're just going to grab it, pull that skin off. Yeah, we'll make it soigné. That might be too small, that one, but these are looking good. Butchering the chicken part, okay, I'm with that. But then I'm getting this potato thing, and I'm thinking, what's he doing? And then it gets even weirder. It gets weirder and weirder. It's weird until the end, but at the end, it's great. I'm just going to get these taters here, put them in my food processor, and he's going to put water in here, and the reason is because the water is going to help smash them up. We're going to drain this through a chinois mousseline, rinse it a little bit, and then squeeze the moisture out with a colander. You'll see what I do here. There's a lot of ways to get the moisture out, but we're just going to squeeze it out through a chinois using a ladle the way you'd pass a sauce. All right, now to this potato, I'm going to add 2 lightly beaten egg whites. I'm adding a little salt. If you add salt to them, it helps loosen up the structure. So it just helps to beat them up a little bit. And I know we're going to need salt in these potatoes anyway. So now I've got that going. I'm going to just get ready to add, here's my potatoes out of the chinois. Going to add the egg whites to the potatoes. And I'm going to add flour. So you have like a little latke kind of thing happening here almost. And then we're just going to mix all this until it catches. All right, we're going to add another egg. Now, as I said, Michel has his own version of this. I'm just going to add a little dried, powdered onion, some powdered garlic, a little bit of cumin, and some smoked habanero flakes to give it a little bit of that zing. And we'll mix all this together a little bit so it's beautiful. Okay, you're done. Salt. All right. Got to have this stuff seasoned, you know. All right, now this is when this recipe turns from strange to stranger. I'm going to get a piece of plastic wrap. Onto the plastic wrap, we're going to get some of the potato crust. That's probably too much. And we're going to get it thin. And we're going to get a piece of chicken. Dip it in that egg. Well, look at the color of those egg yolks. You see organic eggs, really different. They say they've got like 7 or 8 times the omega-3 oils versus the supermarket factory eggs. Just a little bit of this on top. And we're going to spread that. Can you see why? As we roll this, push, get that shape. This is our little chicken nugget capsule. This was when I had really lost hope. I'd say if you had a hope meter going in me, it was down about 20% success, 80% failure. But it worked. Wait. If you fried these now, you're toast. By putting them in the freezer for an hour, they're golden. You'll see. So in they go. And we'll take them out in about an hour, and I'll show you what I mean, because it only works because of the freezer. It's an incredible recipe, and the results are just grown-up chicken McNuggets. Gotta love it. I was thinking if you had to have a sauce with this, honey mustard would be a good one. So we're going to just get a little, how do you make honey mustard sauce? I don't know. I would imagine you get a little honey, and you get a little mustard, like this, and you whisk them together. I think that's going to work fine. All right, let's fry the chicken. Meet you at the stove, and we'll see if this thing works. Moment of truth is upon us. I'm guessing this oil's right there now. Now it's going up fast. See, now they've been frozen. Well, not frozen. They've been in the freezer for about an hour and 10 minutes. And it's just set up this outer skin. So that the inside chicken isn't frozen, but the outer skin is congealed. And this is where Michel, I mean, I don't know where he gets these ideas, but step back a little. There's a fair amount of moisture in these. We're going to do them 3 at a time. See, they're getting a little color. I don't want to move these around too much. You're getting a little, you can see that brown in the end there? Here too, just getting a little golden. It's going to be about 4 minutes either side, 4.5 minutes either side. Get this side. We're going to end up turning these once each, but I want to get this other side cooked now. All right. That's a beautiful color. That's exactly what I want, and I'm just putting this on, like I always do, on a paper napkin on top of a paper bag. And this is how I serve them. I get one of these bad boys, put it on a plate, usually 2 of them, little honey mustard or whatever for the kids, and we go ahead and eat, which is fine for me, probably fine for you, because at the end of the day, if it's delicious, you know, honestly, I'm not that big on visual food, but I'm going to try to see if we can make it cute. Because I know Michel Richard, he's going to watch this and go, "You fool, you idiot, what is that thing you make? It looks like a corn dog or something." All right, Michel, calm down. A little bit of honey mustard for the kids. Go right into the middle of this bad boy. Whoop. You can hear how crisp it is. Just take a section out. And you can see that? Well, look, this is a good illustration. This is the potato. It's totally cooked. That's the potato skin. It's just a really thin, like a latke is what it kind of reminds me of. Like crazy latke kind of thing. And it's great. Really, really great. Hats off to this guy. Michel Richard is absolutely worth the reason to go to D.C., if nothing else. I mean, it's worth the trip from New York, Boston, Philly, Jersey. One of the best restaurants in America, one of the best restaurants on the planet. The guy's a huge talent. And again, I'm going to argue with him. There's very, very few pastry chefs that cross the line and become great restaurant chefs. It just doesn't happen. I don't know why he was insisting it was so common. It isn't. The guy's brilliant. He's a superb chef, and we're glad to have him. He's the best thing DC's got going as far as I could tell, and I'm looking forward to my next trip down to Citronelle. So like he said, now you know me, New York. I was on a couple of Gourmet. Well, and then he was on my show, too. He's a master. Until next week, try these things at home. And if you can figure out a way to make these things cute, email me. If you can make the same recipe in some way that doesn't look like a corn dog, please let me know. Till next week.